What's good, people? It's about that time to randomly relate, reverse rants, no hate. Now, we're going to do something different today because I want to address an individual because they made a comment where, if you listen to my video clearly, they either just can't comprehend the simple common sense of what I was saying, or they misunderstood, they missed something. Okay, now, so Mr. Orlando Finney, we're going to talk about it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play my video of what was said. And before I do so, I'm going to read his comment because his comment, it makes zero sense when you hear his comment and listen to everything I said in my video. So, okay, so Mr. Orlando Finney's comment was, "Hey bruh, you sound like a promoter and not a boxing fan. As a boxing fan, I just want to see the best fight the best. And right now, Demetrius Andrade versus Jamal Charlo makes sense. Right now, they're both middleweight champions. They have history together, and they both need a legacy fight. And this is that fight. Timing is everything. They are both in their primes right now, so why not fight each other now?" Okay. Now, here's the funny thing. In this video, you're going to hear me say 4 times, "I want that fight." 4 times. And basically, I don't understand what you think you're teaching me, or like what you think you're schooling me on. You're talking about timing is everything, and yeah, duh. There's many videos if you watch, if you take the Tootsie Roll out your ear and pay attention and listen before you make comments or understand where the energy is coming from, okay, you understand and realize I'm one that's been wanting this fight as well. Okay, I sound like a promoter to you. Maybe that's because I have an understanding of the way things happen. Okay, but nothing I said in this video is complex where you can't understand. You know what? Let's take a listen. What's good, people? It's about that time to randomly relate, reverse rants, no hate. Check it out. I just want to touch on something real quick. I'm looking at a whole lot of talk about who Jamal Charlo is not going to fight. I'm looking at a whole lot of talk about this guy's not going to fight that guy. That guy's not going to fight this guy. This guy's been calling this guy out for a long time now. This guy's been ducking this guy. This guy's been calling this guy. If you go on every channel and you start to look around, you know what you start to realize and see? There's been many fighters in all these different divisions saying, "I want this guy. I want that guy. I want this guy." And then the fights don't happen. The fights that you want to see the most are the ones you're going to pay more attention to. But at the same time, for people to dismiss certain fighters, like I've seen channels where people are saying, like, Jamal Charlo shouldn't even go after a guy like Billy Joe Saunders. He shouldn't go after a guy like Chris Eubanks Jr. Now pause. Now, part of the reason that I made this video was right from the beginning, like what I said. They're talking about all of these different guys who won't fight this guy and that guy. Now, first off, positive thinking is not going to make the fight happen. And shooting the fight down and shitting all over boxing is not going to make the fight happen. And that's what you get, one of the two. You have people that are so disgruntled and take things so personal because the fights are not happening that they want to see. We all want to see these fights, okay? But at the same time, you have guys, like there was a particular channel, there was 3, and one particular, okay, and all 3 of them have a massive following, right? So I don't need to call the channel's name out because it's not about trying to expose them. They have their own views, okay? Now, I don't agree with their views. So on my channel is where I decide to say what I'm going to say, because I would never go on their channel to tell them, "Oh, you're wrong and you shouldn't this and that." That's their views, whether biased or unbiased, okay? Here's the reality. There was a channel where a guy said Canelo was not going to be available because of his lawsuit, which in videos I've said I don't know if that fight will happen right away, or who, if Canelo's fighting anybody right away right now, because of, you don't want the distraction of a lawsuit. You know, you're handling business and you're trying to train, and you could easily just not be right come fight night.
you know, with this ongoing thing. Now, and me saying that, and this guy saying that, okay, the understanding, okay, that you guys are lacking is if you're watching this video and didn't see the other video, okay, let me add that in. Okay, the guy made a comment about you know, Canelo's not going to be available, and he said no one wants to see him fight Gennady Golovkin because Gennady Golovkin is old and washed up, and he really lost to Derevianchenko, so there's no need for that fight to happen. And then he made another comment about Jamal Charlo probably would cherry pick someone like Chris Eubanks Jr. or or Billy Joe Saunders. And the same night, a few minutes, I think it was like maybe a few minutes after that, or how it went, I saw a video of Demetrius Andrade and guess who? None other than Billy Joe Saunders, trading words back and forth. And they both said they want that fight. So now, Demetrius Andrade says he wants to fight Jamal Charlo. Demetrius Andrade says he wants to fight Billy Joe Saunders. Is he going to fight them both the same night? No. That's common sense, right? So my point was in the previous video to this, basically. Now you said it's a cherry pick. He'll probably cherry pick a Chris Eubanks Jr. or Billy Joe Saunders, but at the same time, Demetrius Andrade says he wants that fight with Billy Joe Saunders, and it's not a cherry pick. So there was more than just one meaning and message in the video, okay? And the energy that caused me to make the video, okay, that made me decide to make the videos, there's more that went into it. Nothing I said is complex. It's right to the point. So all the way to the end of the video, I'll even explain why I added Demetrius Andrade, because I didn't add him in the first initially because his name wasn't in that conversation based on what other channels were saying. So like I said, if you guys pay attention and learn what's being said and have an understanding before you start making comments that doesn't make any sense, because that comment clearly makes no sense to what I said. Okay, let's continue.
Shouldn't go after Canelo or Triple G. So, he needs to fight Demetrius Andrade. Okay, and after he fights Demetrius Andrade, then who? Right? And I agree, I want to see that fight. But what I'm saying is,
what did I just say?
Dismiss fighters.
What did I just say? I agree. I want that fight. So I have no idea what you're talking about. Okay, and I'm going to say it 3 more times before the video ends. Now, when I say if he beats Demetrius Andrade, then what? My point in that is there's going to be somebody else. But who? The same names that they're saying right now he shouldn't fight. So in my opinion, okay, if he's going to fight, say, a Triple G, that fight needs to happen right away. Why? Because Triple G is like, what, 38 now? 39? So what's going to happen? He beats Triple G. That's a tainted victory in the eyes of many who don't like Jamal Charlo. It's going to be Triple G was old, see, he's fighting old men. Okay, so let's say he waits and Triple G is still hanging around, and let's just say he fights Triple G and Triple G's 40, 41, 42. Well, then what happens? Oh, he waited for Triple G to get old. They're going to say that regardless. So out of all of those fights, if he's going to fight, okay, if he's going to fight a Triple G, that should happen now and not later. Now, would I rather see Demetrius Andrade versus Charlo? Yeah. The only fight other than Andrade that me personally, I wouldn't mind if it was either one. And it would be a bigger fight for Charlo. It would be a bigger fight for anybody that fights him would be Canelo. So how does that not make sense though? Okay, so if you're going to fight a Triple G, that has to happen first. As far as I'm concerned, in terms of him getting the full credit he deserves for beating another guy in the sport that has a huge name, a huge following, and that has, that's going to have a strong legacy. Overall, you just beat a guy, Derevianchenko, that many people feel beat Triple G. Okay, and understand, ever since, whether you realize it or not, ever since the Charlos have just had this successful fight night a couple of weeks ago, all you've been hearing is who Jamal should fight, who Jamal should fight. They're making it sound, as people make it sound as if, all of these fighters just lined up with nothing to do but just wait to see what. Okay, one at a time. Jamal go beat Demetrius. Okay, after that, Jamal go beat Jarrett Hurd. Okay, after that, go beat this guy. No, like they're not going to fight each other. It's just everybody's waiting to fight Jamal. That's the way people make it seem. You don't hear anybody else talking about any other guys. And then when you do hear them talk, the whole thing is, oh, it's not going to happen. This guy's not going to fight this guy. This guy's not going to fight this guy. Oh, it's been 5 years. And, well, then what are we talking about then? If the fights are not going to happen, then what are we doing? Why are we wasting our time talking about boxing? This is the kind of negativity I'm talking about, that people are shitting, okay, leaving shit stains on boxing, because all we're doing is talking about personally who we like, who we don't like, and that's not going to make the fight happen or not happen. Okay, but at the same time, if all we're going to do is log on to let's see what I can bitch and complain about today, then what are we talking about? Okay, so I have no clue why you typed what you typed. Let's continue.
Because it's a particular fight that we want to see more than we want to see the other fights. Like I always say, your career is not about one man.
Facts.
Okay? Nobody's talking about Jarrett Hurd right now.
Facts.
You know, nobody's talking about J-Rock right now.
Facts.
There's certain fighters that, because they have a loss, or because, you know, you don't like that fighter, you're saying that this guy shouldn't fight that guy. Listen.
Now, before J-Rock got knocked out by Jamal Charlo, they made as big a deal as the two of them fighting as they are with Andrade and Charlo now. Okay? Before Jarrett Hurd got beat, same thing. All of these guys, they were saying, and remind you, all of these people they were saying would beat Charlo. Oh, he knocked Charlo out. Charlo's out. He's overrated. Oh, he's not this. Both of them, they're not this, they're not that. Okay, which I don't care about what your opinion is, with who you think would win or who you know, or who would lose. I don't care about that. Even if you think that this guy would beat this guy, okay, they're two of the elite fighters. Why not? Why not have that fight happen? So basically, so what happens if Andre and Charlo is not next? What we gonna do? You know what you're gonna do? You're gonna bitch and complain, but you're still gonna watch the fight anyway. So what was so complex? Just because you don't like a particular fighter, or you think that this fight should happen faster than the other fights, doesn't mean that it's gonna happen. And if it doesn't happen, what are we, like 12 years old? We're gonna go into a little panty rage and start throwing shit around. I'm supposed to jump up like Stephen A. Smith? This is ridiculous. This is absolutely preposterous. I mean, there's no way that this fight should happen. I am appalled, and this is no. I don't do that. I have a life, and I'm not going to lose sleep over a fight. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. We get the enjoyment of the entertainment factor. Guess what? They get a huge paycheck. And guess what? Their legacies and all this stuff we're talking about, legacy fights, who the hell doesn't understand that? Who doesn't understand that? I want to see. So let me say it right now again. I want to see Jamal Charlo versus Demetrius Andrade. Okay, that's the big fight that I want to see. And no, I'm not going to jump up and down like, oh, yay, they're fighting. No. First off, I'm too grown up for that bullshit. I am a grown-ass man. You know, understand what I'm saying? See, when you're a kid, you say shit like, motherfucker, I'll kill you. When you mature, it comes more out like, you know, I'll kill you, right? Simple. So because I'm not expressing favoritism, because I'm not sitting here bitching about the fight, what does that mean? So no, I'd rather be called, I respect the sport of boxing, okay? Me fighting my ass off and doing what I do myself and being a part of the shit, yeah, I have a huge respect for. I'm not a fan of any fighter. So there's always going to be something that you guys don't understand because I don't respond to shit the way you respond. So no, I'm not into this whole jumping up and down, pumping my fist because we get a certain fight. Like I said, I have a life. The only person and people I put that kind of energy into is myself and my family. Okay? At the end of the day, okay, just so you know, at middleweight, those are the two guys I like more than the rest of the middleweights. So again, when they fight, if they fight, however it goes, that is a fight that they both need in terms of legacy. But am I going to make this personal? It's about their legacy, not mine. It has nothing to do with me personally. It's a fight that I want to see. Okay? But like I said, I'm too grown up for that childish shit. Let's continue. Facts.
As far as us not getting the fights that we want to see, yeah. You want those fights, you're voicing your opinions. But at the same time, even like, look, Chris Eubanks Jr., right? Out of all those top guys that we're talking about, nobody's really talking about him. Now, over in the States, you don't hear people talking about Chris Eubanks Jr. or Joe Smith.
Facts.
You know, you know, Josh Taylor and fighters like that, because they're not from America. But what does that have to do with anything?
Facts.
I mean, I'm hearing people now, just like, for example, people that are saying they want to see Jamal Charlo fight Demetrius Andrade, and I for one want to see that fight as well.
Second time I said it.
Saying that Caleb Smith, Caleb Plant is running from Benavidez. What makes you say he's running from him? He's ducking him. There's always.
And that's part of what I'm talking about. Is when fights don't happen, people create their own narrative and say the fight is not happening because of this and that and that and this. And it's like, well, where's your proof that that's the case? What are you going by when you say that? And so now, instead of us pushing for the fights, we're saying it's not going to happen. And we're shooting the fights down. That they're not. So what is so hard about understanding what I said? So again, your comment, it has no merit. That shit has been debunked before I even started the video. But again, I'm addressing it because you seem to not understand what I said. And you took the time to address and say I sound like a promoter instead of a boxing fan. But like I told you, maybe it's because I understand why things happen a lot of times. We don't always have clarity. And when you don't have clarity, people make up shit. Even when you do have clarity. See, fans still make their own narratives. Regardless to even when the proof is there. Let's continue.
The fight don't happen when you want to see it happen. And then you're saying that the fighters are ducking. But, man, look. And y'all talking about, 5 years ago. And,
living in the past.
Living in the past.
Okay.
Right now, from 154 to 175, it's a lot of talk about what's going on.
Facts.
People are paying attention now.
Facts.
And this is what we need to do. Push for these fights to happen. And stop sitting there putting your emotions in your so-called predictions about who's going to do this and who's not going to do that. Because at the end of the day, all you're doing is leaving shit stains all on the name of boxing. And you know,
double facts.
The fight is this, but he's not this and he's not doing that. Okay, so what happens? What happens when the same guys that you're saying is ducking beat the fighter that you want to see win? What's the excuse going to be then? I bet you he won't beat him in a rematch.
Facts.
Or something was wrong. Or fuck him, he's overrated. I thought he was good. He ain't shit. Listen, grow up.
Facts.
Right now, all of us that want to see these fights happen, I'm talking about the fights. We'll do videos on the fights that we want to see happen. How soon they happen, we don't know. But at the same time, there's many fights that can be made. You know, and from 154, you know, at least from 154, I don't see too many guys that's going to jump from 154 and go up to like 168 or 175. But you got people that can make the jump from 154 to 160, from 160 to 168, 168 to 175. Certain guys can actually go from 160 to 175. You know, people are talking about Jared Hurd is a weight bully now. He's too big for that division. I've heard people say the same thing as far as size is concerned about Demetrius Andrade. Like that guy could be fighting at light heavyweight, you know. It is what it is. But listen, these are the fights we want to see, and I do want to see Demetrius Andrade versus Jamal Charlo most definitely.
Third time I said it.
When I made the mentions of possible opponents, I didn't really say too much about Demetrius Andrade, but that's Andre, how do you say his name? I want to see that fight. So listen.
Fourth time I said it.
What y'all think about Demetrius Andrade versus Jamal Charlo? Would y'all want to see that fight first? Or would you want to see him fight a Canelo or Triple G first? Or, you know, anybody else other than first? And the reason I'm saying that because the majority of people that is saying he shouldn't fight Canelo or he shouldn't fight because they you know, there's certain fights they don't like. This is not about favoritism. This is about the fights you want to see. So what y'all think about Jamal Charlo versus Demetrius Andrade? Let me know in the comments. And remember, never fall in love with lies. And the truth brings hate out of people. Catch y'all in the next video.
Now, let me say this. 4 times you hear me in the video. This goes to show you when I say people don't listen. And I have no idea why they make certain comments that they make because it has no merit. It holds no weight. 4 times you hear me say, I want that fight. But your comment says something completely different. Okay, first off, another part of me saying what I'm saying, okay, is, and this is why so many times my videos are so long, because I try to get everything out. You see, the shorter the video, the less you guys, it's like your attention span is better when the video is long than when it's short. Okay? Most fights that don't happen, what people overlook is a lot of these promoters don't want the fight to happen. I'll give you a perfect example of something, okay? We were told that Deontay Wilder had to get surgery, right? And that his arm wasn't healed properly and the fight was pushed back because of that with Tyson Fury. Then we were also told nothing was wrong with Deontay's arm by another sparring partner, right? That he was ready since like July. But, they were pretty much testing the waters to see what was going on. What did his promoter just say last week? That fight's not happening until at least late 2021. At least. So what happened to all that? Oh, the fighter has the last say so. See, the fighter is, okay, let me tell you something. The fighter, we want to go in there and whoop some ass. The promoter's job, okay, is truly supposed to be to make the most money for his fighter, his team, his stable of fighters, and also and pushing you in the right direction to where your career is not going to be harmed by the decisions that you make. Okay. Example: if Deontay Wilder lose to Tyson Fury, let's say they fight December, he lose. That's a huge setback. First fight was called a draw, but most people feel like he lost. Second fight, regardless to all these allegations and things that was never proved, it doesn't matter. He got his ass whooped. He lose again in the third fight. Okay? He already lost his real estate. Okay, the WBC title. So now he can't have these demands about, oh, well, I want this amount of money, that amount, or we have no fight. Oh, well, no problem. You got your ass whooped again. So there's no big demand for you. Okay? Now, how do they bring him back after a second loss? You put him there with somebody like Charles Martin, maybe somebody like Oscar Rivas, Adam Kalnaki, somebody who they feel is less of a threat, but he'll get some kind of credit, some kind of respect for beating that person. And should he beat them, knock them out the way he always do, Deontay Wilder is back. He's ready. He looks good. And guess what? He's right back in the conversation. Okay? And guess what? We still didn't get AJ versus Wilder. We still didn't get Dillian White versus Wilder. Now, let's just say, for example, Wilder sits it out and he waits. Now, let's say Tyson Fury, right? Or say he doesn't wait, but he takes a lesser opponent. Okay? Regards to the criticism or whatever he'll get. But let's say Tyson Fury fights AJ and he wins against AJ. Don't they have unfinished business now? Let's say AJ beats Tyson Fury. Ain't that a fight that we never got? That was talked about and went nowhere? So do you think that do you not realize that the promoters tell their fighters, and I've said this in the videos already, the promoters tell the fighters, look, I know you want that fight. And that's a good fight. That's a great fight. But right now is not the time. It's all about timing. The same way you put that in your comment. I don't know, like, who you think you schooling or why you think why you felt that was necessary for what you said. Because, again, your comment it makes no sense based on nothing that I said. And so basically the promoter, okay, they want to make sure that business is being taken care of. You guys think that somebody just say, hey, man, it's going to be a fight in the park. Everybody come on, and they fill up a stadium somewhere, and two guys just go in there and fight. Somehow a camera crew, everybody just shows up and get paid based on what? Where's the money coming from? Right now, with all of these empty arena fights, they're losing so much money. Okay? Eddie Hearn talks about it more than any other promoter. Fights like with AJ, he clearly said they're trying to push the fight back as far as they can, hoping that they can get the fight done in front of a crowd. That's the business side. So even if I take the time to explain that, okay, it's because a lot of people are not aware of the business side of things. They don't think about these things. Okay, I had a situation where there was a subsidiary label that wanted to sign me and my partner at the time to a record deal. Okay? But the record deal, the way it was set up, not understanding the business side of things, I fortunately came across somebody, not even looking for them, that heard us talking about everything and just, pardon me, brothers, but yeah, I heard you say that's this and that, whatever. It turns out he was an attorney. Saved me and my man possibly, because we don't know how much the record would have sold or wouldn't have sold, but not understanding the business side of things, we was ready to sign that contract. Oh yeah, what? What? Oh, and it was offering what you call advanced cash. It's not a signing bonus. See, what that means is, let's say they gave us $3 million, right? This all goes to our project, traveling expenses, everything, studio time, video shoots, all of that. And let's say the album only sells 1 million. We owe them 2 million. So until we pay them back their $2 million, we don't get 1 penny from our record sales. So our stage shows, everything we're doing, we have to make sure they get their money back first. And at the same time, knowing that, not knowing that, okay, it could have been detrimental to us. So when that guy showed up with us and we went and he explained the paperwork to us, it's like, wow. Because they didn't explain that to us. You know what they said? Man, yeah, we got you. Man, this money, as if it was a signing bonus. Like, damn, okay, so we getting this money and we going to jump in there and we're going to be doing our videos. Oh yeah, we got it. No, that's not what that was. You got to spend that money for what is necessary and wisely. And the first thing a person do when they pick up an album, look at the cover, flip it over, and start to read who produced this album. And if they don't recognize anybody, they're like, oh, this is probably trash. I ain't going to get this. And they put it back. And they don't buy it. Because they think it's a trash album because, well, there's no Dr. Dre, there's no Timbaland, there's no, no Swiss Beats. Who are these people? And that's things that you, as an artist, all you know is you can rap your ass off. I'm ready to go up there and do, okay? So the less you know, the more harm you can do to yourself. And what does it matter how talented you are if it goes unnoticed? So the same way, you heard me say 4 times in the video, I want the fight. The reason why Demetrius Andrade name wasn't mentioned, which I explained that, is because people was talking about who they want to see him fight first, or he's not going to fight this guy, this fight won't happen, and this fight won't happen. Does that mean I don't want to see the fight? Because you guys gotta listen, man. Like I said, take the Tootsie Rolls out your ears, clear your mind, get rid of the tunnel vision, so when you're watching and listening, you can respond properly. Otherwise, you're making comments that make 0 sense. 4 times I say, I want that fight. So I don't know what you're talking about. Why shouldn't the fight happen right now? And I'm asking a question. When I say, let me know who y'all rather see. What fights you think should happen first? As far as Triple G, because of his age, if you're going to decide you're going to fight him, it needs to happen now. Because he's he's older than everybody else. Okay? And like I said, it's going to be a victory that, he's old now. And the first thing people are going to say is, Jamal waited for him to get old because he could have fought Triple G years ago. And anytime a fight doesn't happen and you don't like a fighter and you're a fanboy, the first thing you're going to do is blame that fighter and say he didn't want no smoke. Okay? There's people who think Billy Joe Saunders is a shit fighter. There's people that think that, J-Rock, his better years are behind him. He's not the same. Jarrett Hurd, he's not the same. This is coming from people. This is not me imagining this. So, basically, because you think these guys are no good, then it's only important that he fights Demetrius Andrade and only Demetrius Andrade. So after he fights, okay, let's say he wins, like I said, who's next? The same names that they keep recycling back and forth that they're saying he shouldn't fight. And if Andrade wins, who's next for him? Now, if you take that for me saying, the fight shouldn't happen or it doesn't matter if it happens, then that's on you. I clearly said 4 times, I want that fight. And everybody just heard it, right? Okay. So when I'm saying, when I'm responding to things that people said, I clearly, right from the very beginning of the video, made it clear how people are saying the fights are not going to happen and they're being negative towards the fights happening because, look, J-Rock and Andrade and Charlo, we talking about 5 years prior, 3 years prior, 2 years prior, where these guys have been going back and forth about who they want. And even when I said in another video where Charlo was saying, fuck Demetrius Andre. He's a trash fighter. And I said, maybe that's just how he actually feels. If you want to say he's using that as a duck, hey, well, whatever, so be it. But at the same time, the fights didn't happen. So no matter how much we want them to happen, what are we doing right now? We're talking about the fights we want to see. So, like I said, if we're going to come in here with all this negative energy saying that the fights are not going to happen, then what are we talking about then? If I'm sitting here convinced none of these fights we want to see is going to happen, why the hell am I wasting my time, okay, creating a platform to talk about boxing just to sit here and talk about what's not going to happen? So if you, okay, Mr. Finney, don't understand that, or anybody else don't understand that, that's something y'all got to deal with. I made myself crystal clear from the very beginning of that video to the very end. So how I sound like a promoter to you and how for some reason you think I'm saying the fight shouldn't happen, that's something you got to work out mentally with yourself. Because I clearly, 4 times said I want that fight. And the majority of most people's minds, if they had a poll, who should fight now? Canelo versus Charlo or Canelo versus Andrade? I'm willing to bet you the majority of people will say Canelo versus Charlo. Because, look, Jamel Charlo's stock just went up. That fight with Derevianchenko was his catapult fight to, okay, now I'm in the same conversation with these guys. Okay, the performance shows you he was already there. But that's proof, beating him, that he's there. You want to know what was going on when I watched the fight? Everybody was, oh man, by the 6th, 7th round, he won't beat Canelo. He won't beat this guy and that guy. Why? Because they already saw, like, okay, he's just better than Derevianchenko, and he's beating this guy soundly. And you had people, oh man, the fight is not even over. You're already saying the next guy he should fight, because of the hate. And then basically, what happens is they start saying that Derevianchenko was overrated. He was never a champion anyway. He's always falling short, in big fights. So that ain't no big deal. So if that's not a big deal, why do you want to see Charlo fight anybody if he's so overrated? You understand? People have their different reasons and biases as to why they want or don't want something. There's many fights out there to be made. So if that fight is not next, well, what are we going to stop watching boxing because of? One of the family made a comment and said that boxing is really the most difficult sport to watch because it's so confusing, because it's hard to get these big fights. And he's right. He's absolutely right. I agree. Clearly. What did I say? Yeah. You got all these different, things that happen in boxing that prevent boxing from going to the next, to being what it used to be in terms of popularity. Every big business, there's things that happen inside, behind the scenes that we don't see, that we don't think about. But just like the comparison, one of the things I said to the brother was, look at how boxing promote the sport. Most of their shows they only focus on the main event. When HBO was around, they give you one fight. Once in a while, you might get a double header because they're trying to set up pretty much the two fighters have big fights with each other, or another big fight in the division. And they have, 5 to 7 fights on the card, but they only let you see one. Showtime, on the other hand, was looked at as second-rate channel. And then next would be like ESPN, like Tuesday night or Friday night fights or something like that. UFC promote the whole card. They show every weigh-in. They do a video package on everybody on the card. Boxing doesn't do that. You go to or watch a UFC event, it's a packed house from the first fight to the last. You go to a boxing event, the building is half empty until like the last two, like the last 2 fights. 2 or 3 fights, the last 2 or 3 fights in. Before that, the building is empty. You don't see that shit happening in the UFC. That building is packed. They watch every fight. It's a different feel and it's a different vibe. Now, me saying that, you could take it as I'm saying UFC. I like UFC better. Did I say that? Even if I did, that would be my prerogative to do so. But no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about the way they package their fights and present it to the people. And you got to understand, a lot of people are not aware. They don't think about these type of things. So when you bring that to the light, that gives them something to look at, okay, from a logical standpoint. A lot of things it could be, we're not sure. But as far as all of this guy's ducking that guy, and this guy don't want to fight and saying that the fights are not going to happen. Well, if that's the right way going, then what are we saying? Why are we wasting our time talking about boxing if we don't believe that these fights are going to happen? And then we just shoot it down and then dismiss certain fighters because we personally don't like that fighter. Someone said Canelo's trash. He's overrated. He has no business in the boxing ring. Do I agree with that? No. Not at all. Canelo's far from trash. And if he's a trash fighter, I wouldn't care to see him. So that person's perspective and opinion, whether biased or not, well, you think everybody thinks Canelo's trash? You have people that think, I saw a channel where guys like Canelo will beat Jamal Charlo with just sheer body shots alone. That's his perspective. Do I agree with that? Nope, not at all. But that's his perspective. So if I'm not calling him a bitch ass nigga, a punk motherfucker, faggot ass bitch ass, if I'm not doing that, that's not what I do. So if me not getting all hyped up about it seems like I don't understand something that you do, then that's something you have to deal with. I'm fine with who I am and what I believe. Okay, and what I believe is based on what I see and what we think we know, because you don't know all the answers and neither do I. But at the same time, I only speak on what I do. If I express something with knowledge, it's because I know what I'm talking about. I can't tell you why certain fights aren't happening, but you know what? Like I said in previous videos, a whole lot of times the promoter is the reason that fights don't happen. Okay, before and during this pandemic. Because it's about money for them. It's a business. So if you don't understand that, then that's something you have to deal with. But what you said, your comment was completely debunked before I even did this video. Because the video that I did, all you or anybody has to do is listen to what I said and read your comment, and they will realize they'll feel like, what the hell are you even talking about? Anyway, look, never fall in love with lies. And remember, the truth brings hate out of people. That's all I'm going to say in this video. You have been debunked, sir. Catch you on the next one.